35% of American homeowners now pay more in HOA fees than their mortgage. Not a coincidence, not a mistake. The math. Picture the subdivision matching mailboxes, fresh mulch a sign out front, reminding you of the parking rules. But here is what they are not telling you. Behind those signs, homeowners across this country are being financially gutted, not by market crashes, not by rising rates, but by the same board that fined you for the wrong color door. According to Atom Data Solutions, HOA foreclosures are up 50% nationwide since 2022. Today, we count down the 10 U.S. cities where this is happening fastest in 2026. Stay through number 1. What Miami HOAs can legally do to your home while you are paying your mortgage on time will leave you speechless. Subscribe now. Number 10, Seattle, Washington. Cross the lake. Washington floating bridge on a gray winter morning, and Seattle does what it always does. It makes you feel like you have arrived somewhere that matters. The skyline pushes through low cloud. The water below is still and dark. The buildings say serious money. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. According to local reports, HOA fees inside Seattle's downtown and South Lake Union condo towers have been climbing at a pace that catches buyers completely off guard. Residents in several buildings report double-digit year-over-year increases, with some facing special assessments tied to seismic retrofit requirements that were never disclosed up front. Seattle sits directly above active fault lines. That is not a hypothetical risk. It is a balance sheet reality for every condo association in this city. Buildings constructed before 1980 carry significant earthquake upgrade liabilities. According to local reports, a growing number of Seattle HOA boards have voted to issue special assessments to fund structural work deferred maintenance that quietly accumulated for decades, now arriving all at once. A growing number of Seattle buyers describe the same pattern. The mortgage was calculable. The HOA fee looked fixed. Then came year 2. The special assessment notice arrived sometimes $20,000, sometimes more, with a payment window measured in months. According to local reports, the seismic retrofit disclosure was buried in documents most buyers never read before closing. If you bought a condo in Seattle's Capitol Hill or Belltown neighborhood near the peak of 2022, here is what happened to your money. According to local market reports, condo values in several Seattle neighborhoods have softened as higher carrying costs have pushed buyers towards single-family alternatives. Meanwhile, the HOA fee line in your monthly budget kept climbing, and it is not done yet. Did you read the HOA Reserve Fund study before you signed? Or did you trust the agent who said the building was well maintained? Drive north on Lakeshore, drive on a clear September morning, and Chicago earns every word of its reputation. The skyline stacks up to your left. Lake Michigan stretches east like a landlocked ocean. The buildings are brick and limestone, not glass and steel aspiration. They have been here for a very long time. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. According to local reports, Chicago's vintage condo market, the brownstones, the graystones, the pre-war conversions on the north side, has been hit by a wave of special assessment notices that buyers never anticipated. Residents in multiple Cook County buildings report assessments arriving with little warning, covering tuck pointing, boiler replacements, and roof work that the HOA Reserve Fund simply could not cover. Chicago's most desirable condo buildings are also its oldest. Charm and infrastructure debt come in the same package. Many buildings in Lincoln Park, Wicker Park, and Logan Square date from the 1920s and 30s. The maintenance deferred through the pandemic years is now coming due all at once. According to local reports, the pace of special assessment issuances in Cook County has accelerated meaningfully since 2022. Residents in affected Chicago buildings describe a specific kind of financial shock. The building looked solid. The HOA fee was manageable. Then, the engineering report arrived. Residents in some North Side buildings report receiving special assessment demands of $20,000 to $50,000 payable over 12 to 24 months. That is not a fee increase. That is a bill you were never told was coming. If you bought a vintage condo in Chicago's Lincoln Park or Lakeview neighborhood in 2021, here is what happened to your money. According to local market reports, condo values in several Chicago neighborhoods have remained flat or declined as elevated HOA costs and special assessment risk have reduced buyer demand. The building you bought for its character is now competing against new construction, where the HOA fees are lower, and the reserve fund is actually funded. Before you closed on that Chicago condo, did anyone show you the reserve fund percentage? Or did you just assume the HOA would figure it out? Drive down Pennsylvania Avenue in the early morning before the city wakes up, and Washington, D.C. does what it was designed to do. It projects permanence. The white stone, the wide boulevards, the federal buildings that look like they have never moved and never will. This is a city built to last, except for the people who bought condos here. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. Nationally, HOA foreclosures rose 50% between 2022 and 2025, according to Atom Data Solutions. In Washington, D.C., that national trend carries a layer of risk most other markets simply do not have. This city's condo market was built on one assumption, that the federal government would always need well-paid employees who wanted to live close to work. Since the start of 2025, according to multiple news reports, that assumption has been tested hard. Tens of thousands of federal workers have faced layoffs, buyouts, or remote reassignments, removing the most reliable buyer pool in the D.C. market almost overnight. Washington, D.C. has one of the most condo-dense housing markets in the country. Condo associations here carry operating costs that reflect the city's high-cost base maintenance staff amenity floors and aging infrastructure in buildings that date from the 1960s and 70s. According to local reports, several D.C. condo associations have raised fees significantly in the past 3 years, as insurance premiums and labor costs climbed simultaneously. A growing number of D.C. condo owners describe a situation that simply did not exist 2 years ago. The buyer pool has thinned. Federal employees who would have been reliable purchasers are now either leaving the metro area or putting major financial commitments on hold. According to local market reports units, in some D.C. neighborhoods that would have sold within a week in 2022 are now sitting for 60 to 90 days. Every additional month is another HOA payment on a property that is not moving bleeding cash on a timeline nobody planned for. If you bought a one-bedroom condo in Washington, D.C.'s Capitol Hill or Noma corridor at the peak of 2022, here is what happened to your money. Nationwide, roughly 35% of American homeowners now pay more in HOA fees each month than they pay toward their mortgage principal, according to industry estimates. In a D.C. market where condo prices have softened and the buyer base has contracted, those fees are coming directly out of your equity every single month, with no recovery date visible. If the federal job market in this city never returns to what it was in 2024, who exactly are you planning to sell this condo to? Pull off Interstate 4 on a Tuesday morning, and Orlando looks like a developer's dream made real. Gated communities stretch in every direction. Manicured lawns run behind freshly painted fences. HOA welcome signs stand at every entrance, polished, cheerful, telling you the rules before you even cut the engine. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. According to Atom Data Solutions, HOA-related foreclosures across the United States rose 50% between 2022 and 2025. Orlando's condo and townhome corridors are not watching that statistic from a distance. They are inside it. Florida's property insurance market is in collapse, and Orlando's HOA communities are absorbing the damage directly. When a master policy on a development doubles or triples in a single renewal cycle, the HOA board has two choices: drain the reserve fund or raise monthly fees. Most boards are doing both. The reserve account, the financial cushion every HOA is supposed to maintain, is being spent on insurance before a single repair bill arrives. A growing number of Orlando condo owners report the same sequence they signed closing documents in 2022 at $430 a month in HOA fees. Within 18 months, the board issued two notices, one raising the monthly fee to $680, one levying a one-time special assessment of $9,000 for structural inspections mandated by Florida's new condo safety law. No vote, no negotiation, just a bill. If you bought here in 2022, here is what happened to your money. The price on the listing looked manageable. The HOA fee looked reasonable. But that fee was a variable, not a fixed cost, and the variable went the wrong direction. A buyer who modeled total housing costs at closing is now paying hundreds more per month than any spreadsheet predicted. The equity is not where they thought it would be. The monthly bill is higher than they planned, both at once. If the HOA board can rewrite your monthly payment with 30 days' notice, were you ever really in control of what owning this home would cost you? If this is hitting close to home, hit subscribe. We cover these markets every week, so you can stay ahead of what is coming. Drive Pacific Coast Highway on a clear morning, and Los Angeles still delivers. Ocean on one side, hills on the other. The light comes at an angle that makes everything look expensive, and in this market, everything is. Canyon roads wind up into neighborhoods where the views cost as much as the houses do. At least they used to. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. Since the Palisades and Eaton fires of January 2025, insurers have been pulling out of Los Angeles HOA communities at a rate the market has never seen before. When a carrier exits, the HOA is forced onto California's FAIR Plan, the insurer of last resort at premiums that have in documented cases run 2 to 3 times the previous policy cost. That increase is not absorbed by the HOA. It is passed directly to every unit owner every month without their consent. The California Department of Insurance confirmed a dramatic spike in FAIR Plan enrollment across Los Angeles County following the 2025 fire events. For HOA communities and hillside zip codes, this is not a theoretical risk. It is the current operating reality. When the master policy triples, every owner in the building pays 1/10, 1/20, 1/50 of that increase, whether their unit was touched by smoke or not. A growing number of Los Angeles HOA owners in hillside and canyon communities have received a letter that reads like a financial grenade. The building's carrier canceled the policy. The HOA found replacement coverage through the FAIR Plan. The new premium is 2.8 times the old one. Monthly fees are going up by $310 effective next billing cycle. The homeowner had no vote. They had no warning built into their mortgage calculation. They simply have the bill now. If you bought a condo or townhome in an LA HOA community in 2021, here is what happened to your money. But the number on Zillow is only half the story. The other half is the HOA column on your monthly statement, a number that was not in the projections your lender ran, is not reflected in your home's listed value, and has no ceiling in an insurance market that is actively contracting. When your HOA fee can double because of a wildfire that didn't come within 3 miles of your building, what exactly is it that you own? Cross the Bay Bridge on a foggy morning, and San Francisco still looks like the most valuable city on the West Coast. The skyline breaks through the gray. Victorian rooflines stack up the hills in rows. On a clear afternoon, the view from a Nob Hill condo is worth the asking price, or so the listing will tell you. The listing will not tell you what the building's reserve fund looks like. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. San Francisco's condo market is sitting on a deferred maintenance crisis that has been building for a decade, and HOA special assessments are the mechanism by which that crisis is being billed to current owners. Buildings sold at peak prices in 2020 and 2021 are now issuing 6-figure repair assessments for work that should have been funded by reserves that were never adequately maintained. San Francisco's HOA stock is aging into its most expensive maintenance window all at once. Buildings constructed in the 1980s and 90s are now facing simultaneous capital expenditures, elevator modernization roofing, seismic retrofits plumbing. According to Atom Data Solutions, HOA foreclosure activity nationally rose 50% between 2022 and 2025. The cities with the oldest condo inventory and the highest original purchase prices are producing the most financially distressed owners. San Francisco checks both boxes. A growing number of San Francisco condo buyers who closed between 2019 and 2022 describe a sequence nobody warned them about. Monthly HOA fees were already high, $600, $700, $800. Then came the special assessment. One documented case, a buyer in the Mission District received a notice for a $32,000 structural assessment, payable over 12 months. That is $2,667 per month, on top of the mortgage, the existing HOA fee, and property taxes, on a unit that has declined in value since purchase. If you bought a San Francisco condo in 2021, here is what happened to your money. According to Redfin data, San Francisco condo values have declined from their 2021 peak. That is a six-figure paper loss in the asset itself. Add the cumulative HOA fees paid over 5 years at $700 a month, that is $42,000 paid out on top of a mortgage on top of a declining asset. And then the special assessment arrives on top of that. You paid over $1 million for a unit where the board can hand you a $30,000 bill on a Tuesday afternoon. At what point does owning this place cost more than renting the one next door? Come across the Howard Franklin Bridge into Tampa on a calm afternoon, and the bay catches the light in a way that explains everything. Waterfront towers rise along the shore. Condos with full-length balconies face out over the water. It is the kind of view that makes people wire their down payment without asking enough questions. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. Hurricane Helene hit Tampa in September 2024. Hurricane Milton followed 14 days later in October. Two major storms, same city, same buildings, same HOA reserve accounts, which were never engineered to absorb two named storms in 2 weeks. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta has documented the broader insurance market collapse occurring across Florida's coastal communities. Tampa is not on the edge of that collapse. It is inside it. Florida law requires HOA communities to rebuild to code after storm damage. When insurance payouts fall short, and in the post-2024 storm environment, they frequently do the funding gap lands on the HOA reserve. When the reserve is empty, the only tool left is a special assessment against every unit owner. Atom Data Solutions reported that HOA-related foreclosure activity rose 50% nationally between 2022 and 2025. And 35% of American homeowners with HOA obligations are now paying more in monthly HOA fees than they pay in mortgage principal and interest. In Tampa's waterfront corridor, that proportion is trending higher. A growing number of Tampa waterfront condo owners who purchased before the 2024 hurricane season describe a scenario their closing documents never mentioned. The storms hit. The damage was assessed. The insurance check arrived and covered 62% of the repair cost. The HOA board voted to issue a special assessment for the remainder. Unit owners received bills between $15,000 and $45,000, depending on their unit's square footage, due within 90 days. Some owners had the cash, some did not. Some now have HOA liens recorded against their property. If you bought a Tampa waterfront condo in 2022, here is what happened to your money. The listing price captured a market near its peak. Since then, property insurance for Tampa condos has become either unaffordable or unavailable without the HOA's master policy, a policy that is itself in jeopardy in multiple buildings. Stack the post-storm special assessment on top of that paper loss, and the true cost of this purchase is a number that was never visible on any listing in any disclosure packet at any closing table. If 2 storms in 2 weeks can drain years of HOA reserves down to zero, how many hurricane seasons away from a lien is any waterfront condo owner in this market? Step off the subway at 72nd and Broadway on a fall morning, and the city is exactly what it always promises to be. The ginkgo trees are turning gold along the side streets. The limestone brownstones glow in the early light. Everything about the Upper West Side says this is what you spent your whole career working toward. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. In New York City, the price on the listing is not the cost of owning. Local Law 97. The city's sweeping carbon emissions mandate began issuing fines to non-compliant residential buildings in 2024. According to reporting by the New York Times real estate section, those fines are now being converted into special assessments and billed directly to individual condo and co-op unit owners, on top of monthly maintenance fees that, according to data from Street Easy, already average over $1,000 per month in Manhattan co-ops before any assessments are added. The mechanics of Local Law 97 leave building owners no choice. The penalty is $268 per metric ton of carbon emissions over the city-mandated cap assessed every single year the building remains non-compliant. Replacing boilers, upgrading HVAC systems, and improving insulation to meet the threshold costs millions per building. According to the Urban Land Institute, those capital upgrade costs are being structured into multi-year special assessments, meaning the bill arrives in your mailbox, whether you voted for the renovation or not. A growing number of longtime co-op shareholders in Manhattan are quietly listing their apartments, not because they want to move, but because they cannot afford to stay. According to reporting by the Wall Street Journal, some residents who bought their units in the 1990s and had nearly paid off their share loans are now receiving assessment notices large enough to wipe out years of accumulated equity. They did not default. They did not miss a maintenance payment. The city changed the rules, and the building passed the cost straight down to them. If you bought a Manhattan condo in 2021, here is what happened to your money. Add the carbon compliance assessments, the mandatory facade inspection costs under Local Law 11, and the ongoing maintenance and the all-in monthly carrying cost for many units has risen by hundreds of dollars since closing. None of that increase builds equity. Every dollar of it disappears into a building's balance sheet. When the city starts billing you for the building's carbon footprint on top of your mortgage, your maintenance fees, and your property taxes, at what point does owning in New York City cost more every single month than just renting the apartment next door? Drive the Cape Coral bridges on a clear afternoon, and the water is a shade of turquoise that belongs on a travel magazine cover. The canals stretch in every direction for miles. The palm trees line streets with names like Surfside Boulevard and Paradise Parkway. This is exactly what the brochure promised. This is the dream people sold their houses up north to buy. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. Since Hurricane Ian made landfall on September 28, 2022, the costliest Atlantic hurricane to strike the United States mainland in decades, Southwest Florida has become ground zero of America's HOA fee crisis. According to reporting by NBC News and the Tampa Bay Times, HOA insurance premiums in Lee County communities have increased between 100 and 300% since Ian, forcing associations to choose between two impossible options: raise dues to levels residents cannot afford or slash coverage, and leave the community exposed to the next storm. Most are doing both at the same time. The private insurance market has effectively abandoned this region. According to reporting by CNBC and the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, more than a dozen private insurers have exited Florida entirely since 2022. Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, now covers a growing share of Lee County HOA communities at premiums that have roughly tripled since before Ian. When insurance costs triple and reserve funds were drained by storm repairs, the only place left to find money is the monthly assessment bill. Drive through some of the older canal front neighborhoods today, and you will still see blue tarps on roofs 3 years after Ian. Those homeowners are caught in a loop with no clean exit. The HOA cannot repair common areas without levying special assessments. The special assessments are more than some owners can pay on fixed incomes. Owners who fall behind face HOA liens on properties that are already storm damaged and half the value of what they paid. According to reporting by the Associated Press, a growing number of Cape Coral homeowners in HOA communities are walking away from their properties entirely, not because of foreclosure from the bank, but because the cost of staying has simply surpassed the value of the home. If you bought in Cape Coral in 2021 at the pandemic peak, here is what happened to your money. According to Zillow's Home Value Index, median home prices in Cape Coral reached approximately $360,000 in mid-2022 before the storm. The value dropped, the HOA fees went up, the insurance bill went up, the special assessments arrived. You are paying more every month for something that is worth less than the day you signed. If your HOA cannot afford to insure the neighborhood you bought into and hurricane season starts again in June, what exactly are you paying $900 a month for? Drive south on Brickell Avenue at golden hour, and Miami looks like it was designed by someone who needed to prove something. Glass towers catch the sunset like a wall of mirrors. Rooftop pools shimmer 40 floors above the bay. Yachts sit in the marinas like punctuation marks on someone else's bank statement. This is not just a city. This is an argument, and for a long time the argument was winning. But here is what the real estate agents are not showing you. According to data compiled from Miami-Dade County records and verified by multiple industry analysts, the median condo HOA fee in this market has reached $900 per month. Not per year, per month. And that $900 figure represents a 59% increase over the past 5 years. 59%. In 5 years, on a fee that was already among the highest in the country before the increases started. Today, according to the same verified data, 35% of American homeowners are paying more in HOA fees every month than they pay on their mortgage. In Miami, that number is not a national average. It is a daily reality for tens of thousands of condo owners. On June 24, 2021, the Champlain Towers South Condominium in Surfside, Florida, partially collapsed while residents slept. 98 people died. Florida's legislature responded with Senate Bill 4D, which now mandates full structural inspections for all condo buildings 3 stories or taller and 25 years or older, and requires associations to fund 100% of their reserves by 2025. The problem, most Miami condo buildings had been running with near zero reserve accounts for decades. Boards had kept fees artificially low to attract buyers. After Surfside, the catch-up bill arrived all at once. According to reporting by the Miami Herald, some owners in older Miami Beach and Brickell buildings received special assessment notices for $50,000 per unit. Some received notices for $120,000. A few received notices for more than that, payable within 60 days. Here is the part of this story that the glossy Miami real estate listings will never show you. In Florida and in dozens of other states, a homeowners association can foreclose on your property, not your mortgage lender, the HOA. They can initiate foreclosure proceedings over a debt as small as a few $100s in unpaid dues. Read that again. You can be completely current on your mortgage. The bank gets paid every single month on time, not 1 day late. And the HOA can still place a lien on your property and begin foreclosure proceedings. In Florida, that process can begin within 45 days of a missed payment under certain association bylaws. According to Atom Data Solutions, HOA-related foreclosures increased 50% across the United States between 2022 and 2025. Miami is at the center of that surge. A growing number of Miami condo owners right now are in this exact position. They bought at the peak. They have paid their mortgage every month without fail. Then, the Surfside compliance notice arrived, a special assessment of $60,000 or $80,000 or $100,000 due in 60 days. They could not pay in full. The HOA filed a lien. The lien is now attached to the deed of the home they have been paying for 5 years. The bank does not care. The HOA does not negotiate. And the clock is running. If you bought a Miami condo in 2021, here is what happened to your money. 5 years ago, your HOA fee was roughly $566 per month, already steep by any national standard. Today, it is $900. That is $334 more per month than you budgeted for when you signed the papers. Over 5 years, that fee increase alone has cost you an additional $20,040 on top of what you expected to pay. Add the full 5 years of HOA fees at the current rate, and you have paid $54,000 to the association since you closed. $54,000 that built zero equity. Zero. Every cent of it gone. And if a special assessment arrives tomorrow for a structural inspection, your building failed for reserves that were never funded, for repairs that were deferred for 30 years before you moved in, you will be expected to pay. Or the lien goes on your home. You saved the down payment, you qualified for the mortgage, you made every payment, but do you actually own that condo, or are you renting it from an association that can take it from you the moment you fall behind on dues you never knew could get this high? 10 cities, 10 versions of the same story, from Seattle's deferred maintenance crisis to Chicago's shrinking neighborhoods to New York's carbon compliance bills arriving like a second mortgage. From Orlando's invisible investors to Tampa's insurance exodus, to Cape Coral's storm-damaged streets, where the blue tarps are still on the roofs. From San Francisco's abandoned towers to Los Angeles's 6-figure assessments. And Miami, where you can make every mortgage payment on time for 5 years and still watch an HOA lien attach itself to the deed of the home you thought you owned. The pattern is not a coincidence. It is the accumulated result of decades of deferred maintenance years of insurers retreating from high-risk markets, and the collision between aging infrastructure and the rising cost of keeping it standing. The HOA fee was never supposed to reach this level. The special assessment was never supposed to arrive. And the foreclosure notice was never supposed to come from the same organization that runs your neighborhood pool and approves your fence permit. 35% of American homeowners now pay more to their HOA every month than they pay to their bank, more to the association than to the mortgage. And unlike the mortgage, those fees never end, never build equity, and can only go in one direction. The warning signs were always there. The question is, were you watching? This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial or real estate advice. Always consult a licensed professional before making any investment decisions. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and drop your city in the comments below.